So today we're going to talk about the Sony 20-135 f4 lens. Now, it's a 7-year-old lens and there's going to be a lot to unpack, so with all that out of the way, let's get started. So here is the 28-135, 2.68 pounds. It's an f4, as previously mentioned. Complete servo capabilities on the FX6. So you've got your servo switch here on the top handle, which might be hard to see. Then you also have your hand rocker right here. You've got your declickable aperture ring. You've got your rings here. You've got your power zoom switch, manual, servo, and then you've got your optical steady shot here on the side. And at 2.68 pounds on the FX6, to me, it feels perfectly fine. I actually prefer it just because it looks really cool, actually. It's a longer lens. It definitely looks a lot more welcome on the FX6 than something like a 55 f1.8. So this lens is 7 years old, and why are we talking about it, right? So I'll rewind a little bit. When I got the FX6, I was looking for a lens to pair with it. And I considered a few different options. I was considering at first the Fujinon MK Cine lenses. They are amazing optically. However, with the FX6, you do get Super 35, which those lenses shoot, but only in 1080, and I need to be able to film in 4K. However, if you're an FX9 user, the FX9 does have Super 35 mode and in 4K. So you can take full advantage of the Fujinon MK Cine lenses. So that brings me to the second option. Now, coming from a Panasonic system, filming with the S1, the S1H, I really like that 24-105 focal length, especially for events. I mean, I could be in the back of like an auditorium and I was able to get everything I needed in terms of the width and also for those close-ups. So I really enjoy that focal length and I was looking to kind of mimic that on the Sony system. So that's when I tried the 24-105 f4 OSS and I shot with that. And I just did not enjoy the experience at all because I had the camera here, I had all these cool servo function buttons, and then I had this lens that I had to continually focus and zoom in, and I had to do all this while I'm having this camera body, and it just didn't make a lot of sense. It felt like I've got all these cool switches up here, but I'm not able to actually do anything with them. So then I went on and I found the 28-135 f4, and I looked at the fact that it was released, I think, September 2014, and I thought, what was this, like a launch lens for the FS7? And it turns out it was. So it's a 7-year-old lens, and again, why are we talking about it? It's because with the way autofocus has come so far in the last couple of years, now that you can use autofocus with the Sony cameras on this lens, and the only other Cine lens I can think of that came out recently is that 16-35, which just doesn't suit any of my needs. And so anyway, getting back to the lens, I really like the servo switches and how I was able to operate the camera pretty much as a one-man band. You got the hand rocker here, that's better. And you've got the top handle here, and basically I'm able to pull, you know, the focal length wherever I want it. I'm able to zoom in, zoom out, and I can do so pretty easily. And so that's something I really wanted, you know, and I really wanted the appearance too. I mean, it's an important thing. And that's another thing is with this lens, it looks really good on the FX6, you know. And I'm not sponsored by Sony. I'm not, you know, being paid to market this lens. I just thought it was a really cool lens because it's 7 years old and it's able to do so many things. But getting into that, using this lens, I'll say, so I shoot a lot of events, and for events, it makes total sense to use this lens because you have so much coverage with that 28-135 focal length. Even back when I was using the Panasonic systems, as I mentioned, the 24-105 focal length is good, but this one gives you a little bit extra pull so you can kind of go in and have some more flexibility with close-ups, which is important at events because usually people are speaking, right? So with this lens, I really like pretty much everything about it. You know, 2.68 pounds on this camera, it feels like it complements it more than it makes it a burden. I'm able to hold it more steadily. When I have a lighter weight lens on this, actually it can be a bit of an issue, right? So if I'm using like a 55 f1.8 or something like that, or even like a 35 f1.8, which sometimes, you know, that's all you need. But when you're using it with the FX6, it's almost too light. And so with this lens and camera setup, it's the perfect weight for sort of long-term filming, long-term shooting. So what uses does this lens not serve, right? So I've mentioned about what uses it might serve me, but does it serve you? Well, obviously real estate videography is probably out, right? Vlogging, I don't know how you would, yeah, that'd be a tough one. So one thing I'll say on a more serious note is if you're trying to pull focus like on a film and you've got a focus puller there with you and you want to really hit critical focus, this is probably not the lens for you. And it's not because it can't pull focus, but just because it's not going to be the best in class for doing something like that. But for pretty much 90% of uses, it's a really advantageous lens to have on a Sony body that has servo functionality. I really wanted to like the 24-105, but the 24-105 just didn't really work right with the FX6. On paper it should, because you're getting stabilization, you're getting a useful focal length, but for some reason it just didn't really make sense the way this does. And honestly, the system saves me time, it saves me effort, it saves me on a lot of things. And for the price at $2,400, even though it was really 7 years ago, when you factor in the fact that autofocus has come so far, and where we were in autofocus in 2014 versus where we are now is a whole different ballgame. And you can really nail excellent autofocus with this camera setup. Add to the fact that it is full frame, and add to the fact that it's half the price of that 16 to 35. So I would recommend this lens to anyone who's filming things like interviews, documentaries, some commercial I think could work very well, sports, pretty much most use cases for video. I mean, if you've got something like an FX6, an FX9, maybe an FX3, I actually haven't tried it, but I know you do have that servo switch on there. This could be something to use. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, if you found this video helpful or insightful, give a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment below, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.